Hello everyone and welcome to Unicorn Light Tarot. Sincerely hope everybody is doing amazingly well today. Whether this is the very first time you have clicked onto a video and whether you are returning, welcome one and all. Today we have a wonderful reading for you. We are channeling the spirit of money. So we are going to acquire for you messages from the spirit of money. This is a financial reading. What is your relationship with money? The more you are in touch with your relationship with money, the more you can shift it and change it and grow it, whatever you need to do. Bring in all that abundance that you absolutely love. So if there's any blocks, we will find them today and give you some more information about where you stand and hopefully some practical advice about how you can integrate different kinds of energy or a little shift in perspective, nothing too big, in order to move closer to the spirit of money and be able to work with it in a new way, and of course bring it in any way you want to, without a shadow of a doubt. So as always, we have 3 piles. Now we have the oracle piles here, and I went ahead and put different oracle cards on the top of each pile. But each of these piles have these oracle cards in. So if you need a visual feature in order to, or a different kind of energy in order to help you choose a pile, then that is there for you. So we have the conscious oracle here on pile 1, and we have Ganesha, of course, in pile 2. And I believe this is Believe in Your Own Magic oracle on pile 3. As always, take as much time as you need to just get in touch with your own beauty and your own intuition. The more aligned you are with your own power, the more these readings resonate. And of course, as a general disclaimer, whatever resonates, take it in. Absolutely wonderful. If something doesn't resonate, just let it go. It's not a big deal. These are general readings. If one pile doesn't resonate, feel free to choose another one. So yeah, just bring in the messages as they come in, and that's what these readings are great for. So let's go ahead and put aside pile 2 and 3 for now, but of course we shall return to them. So if you chose pile 1, then this is your reading from messages from the spirit of money. This is your financial reading. What is your relationship with money? And as we said before, we're going to start with the oracle, and then we're going to move on to get you some more information with the tarot. So let's get right into your reading. What's this one? Empowerment 23. This is your Ganesha card. Beautiful. Okay. Clover, Release Your Guilt, 21, beautiful. And then you have Unfoldment, Lotus Flower, gorgeous. And then Water Element, 11. Allow my body, mind, and spirit to flow intuitively through the changes in life. Okay, so first message that we're picking up for you with the angel or the spirit of money is to trust that there's a lot of money out there. There's a lot of abundance out there. For some of you, and of course these are general readings, we said that at the beginning. Now, for a lot of you, you've been working on your essence of money, shifting the way in which you see money and the abundance factor. So there is this beautiful energy around you that's very practical. And what you tend to do, and what's very human, and we all do this, what you tend to do is you tend to sort of look around in your environment and sort of gather up the energy of abundance. And based on that, you figure, you know, this is what I can pull in. This what's available to me now. So there's an expansive attitude that's coming in for you too. And again, you've been working on this, but that practical mindset sometimes clicks in sort of in a subconscious level that, you know, and it usually happens when you're sort of at a lower energy level, because when you're at a higher energy level, then you're sort of, you're slightly more open and sort of a little bit more expansive and willing to sort of go into that magical arc, that magical understanding of, you know, wherever your vibration is, we're going to bring in more abundance. But sometimes when you're a little bit lower, you'll look around, and based on that, you will make assumptions about your life. This is going forward. This isn't going forward. You know, if it's not moving forward, then and you'll come up with all these different reasons. Now, there are many different reasons why things wouldn't be moving forward for you. And we're talking about money, we're talking about abundance, we're talking about expansion. You know, some essences that you're putting out there, whatever you're putting out there in the specifics will take off. They have their own timeline. Also, the other thing that we want you to consider is sometimes when you put your energy into something, it's a baby step. It's a first step into something. But the next step is not necessarily for that particular thing to expand. But it was important to put yourself out there, to do that baby step. That baby step was very important. So if after you've taken that baby step, it doesn't expand into something bigger right away, sometimes that doubt comes in, and then that doubt sort of comes in and clouds the rest of where you're going. Now, again, perfectly natural, perfectly normal. And with your emotionality too, you can really bring in this emotion with it. Some of you tend to block sort of moving forward, but we just want you to tweak with this energy and see if this feels right for you too. Taking that baby step is really important, absolutely. And then after you've taken the baby step, be really expansive, because the universe really is trying to visualize for you and bring you in what it is for your highest good. And something that's ultimately going to bring you extreme happiness sort of down the line. And sometimes when we think, this is what we're going to do, it's going to make us happy now, all of that is absolutely wonderful. But later on down the line, it may not be as expansive as we thought it would be. So that baby step is really important. Now, if it's not going in the direction that you thought it was going to go in, we want you to stay with that expansive energy and stay with that first baby step and just stay in that expansive energy and just find out and really click into the next step of what has to happen or what is going to happen. It won't necessarily be what you think it will be down the same route from that baby step. It could be something completely different, but that baby step was very important for you to take. It clicks you into an energy, right? For you, it's all about clicking into the energy. You have no problems, Pile 1, clicking into an energy. You're all about the vibe. You're all about everything. It's maintaining it and figuring it out. And also because you have this scientific mind, it works so brilliantly. If you're moving down the line and checking things off the list and things aren't working the way that they're supposed to, then that's when you sort of get a little bit down on yourself and you tend to sort of end up sort of blocking yourself and coming in with a little bit of fog of doubt. So this is really just about you sort of trusting the energy and not necessarily how the energy is playing out. So again, trust in the energy and trust in the action. You have no problem taking the action. But also watch your emotionality too. You have these really, really deep, beautiful thoughts. But the emotionality is what is actually driving you. Your emotionality is extremely powerful. So when you get into these sort of dark fogs, you can really go there sometimes because you bring in the emotionality of like, I'm confused, I don't know what to do next. Again, totally natural. Now you've been working on this and this is a process for you. So when you get into that understanding and you get into that emotionality, don't fight it. It's perfectly natural to come up. You can just say to yourself, all right, I'm understanding this is part of the process that we've been through 100, if not 1,000 times before. I put myself out there. I've moved forward on something. It's not eliciting sort of the results that I was expecting. So now I'm moving into confusion and a little bit of disappointment, and I'm letting this come in. And of course, I've got this force of my beautiful emotionality around it. So just muster up the energy to really see what's happening and just accept it. And then what you can do is you come in with a thought form of, I've done this before, I've been here before, I know that there's something bigger and better out there for me. I don't need to attach any emotionality or this emotionality that's coming up. I don't need to attach any more emotionality to it whatsoever. I can just let it be. There's a part of me that wants to be a little bit disappointed right now, and that's absolutely fine. I can let that play out without having to get really into this, without having to drag myself down further. And you're going to see when you do that, as these emotionalities and these emotions like play out, you're not going to be invested in them anymore. Now, when you come out on the other side of this, it will be sort of like after rain and you see the sunshine, the birds come out again, and you'll get this expansive feeling. We want you to get used to having that expansive feeling all the time. So if one thing that you were sort of counting on or thought that was going to happen sort of falls through, you still keep in and you're sort of still in that electric sort of expansive feeling, and you say to yourself, all right, well, that didn't work out, something better is coming in for me. What is it long term that would be better for me? And click into that energy and remain open. So this is something, again, that you've been working on incrementally, and you're at this point where you're ready to make a really huge shift in what you want to see happen. And also the other thing is you can get a little bit of tunnel vision because you're so good at what you do. When you've set something up and you're like, all right, I really want to do this, you will do you'll make your list, you'll get everything done, you'll do it, you'll move forward. So in your mind, the practical mind is saying, we're moving forward, we're moving forward. So if there's a spanner in the works and it's not moving forward according to the list, then, there's something in that beautiful mind of yours that says, all right, there's a breakdown here. We're not going to get the end result. So, your divine masculine is working exquisitely, and it's very good at what it does in the action oriented. So we're going to ask you to maybe bring in a little bit of that intuition, with your divine feminine as you move forward and as you're manifesting and as you're working with the spirit of money. And there's a specific way that you can do this. As you're moving forward and something's not, sort of rendering the results that you're looking for. We'll just give you a specific example. Now, we gave you the example of letting the emotionality play out. Don't fight it. That's perfectly fine. And it's perfectly fine to be a little bit disappointed. You put some energy into something and it's not coming out the way that you want. That's perfectly fine. You just don't want to get dragged down with it. So that's something that we already said. But as that comes in and that there's a little bit of spanner in the works or something isn't happening the way that you want to as quickly as you planned, then click into the universe and definitely click into your higher self. Speak to the universe, which of course is you, and say, all right, we're at this stage. I want to click into my higher self now. I want to click into that version of myself that's absolutely there. And I want to get like the ETA on this situation. How is it I'm supposed to move forward? Is there a different shift in energy? Am I supposed to move forward with this particular part of the plan, or can this plan be expanded in some way? You can absolutely work with your angels, with your guides, with your higher self to find out all the information that you need right away in this really expansive way. Now that you might have this beautiful ideas that come in seemingly out of nowhere, and they're sort of bolts of lightning, and it's like, oh, I can market in this way, or I can do this. That's a great idea, and that will bring people back to here. Sometimes it's about sort of letting the energy sort of start growing, and the way in which you do that is that you grow your own energy and you stay in that expansive open way of being, and then everything else sort of starts taking off. There's an impatience to you, Pile 1, which is absolutely incredible, because that impatience has actually motivated you throughout your life. So you've gotten where you've gotten largely due to your impatience. And some of that impatience is, all right, I'm just going to do it because I can do it better and I can do it quicker. And it's true, you can. So you're used to doing everything on your own. You're ultra independent. You're used to, seeing these results. So when they don't come in the way that you want to, especially considering the effort, because you put a lot of effort and heart and soul into what you do, then of course, you want to know why. But you can click into that timeline. You can click into that reasoning right away. And also click into the energy of what it is, the energy that created what it is that you wanted to sort of take off right away, instead of the energy of the frustration of why it's not taking off. Click into the original energy of it and hold that vibration. That's another thing that you can do too. So there's a real empowerment that's forming for you here as you move forward. And it's a way for you to really understand your energy. It's a way for you to really ground into your own energy and find out how it works. And also there's sort of a very liberating way of working with this energy, especially with the spirit of money and the spirit of abundance, because a lot of that has shifted for you. The significance you put around money, or the significance you put around sort of material things in your life, has shifted. But at the same time, there's things that you need, and you know you need them. And that's perfectly fine to want them. It's perfectly fine to want, you know, sort of an easy breezy cover girl life. Insofar as whatever it is that you know, that you need to cover with money, you want to make sure that you know, you can do that with the greatest of ease, so that you can concentrate on what you're here to do, because you've clicked into your path and your blueprint. All of this is perfectly natural, and it's all available for you now. There's a lot in your there was a lot in your not timeline necessarily, but it did seep into your timeline. But it was past lives too, but it was also in your DNA about this idea of having guilt around having money too. Some of you may have come from existences where, you know, if you have too much money, they treat you differently. I mean, not for all of you, but, you know, coming from humble beginnings, at the very least, the idea that, you know, it just came into my head, and I always promise that, you know, whatever comes into my head, I'll let you know. But, you know, this idea that tossers have money, I don't know, that's a very English thing. Obviously, I was brought up in London, but, you know, the idea that, you know, certain people have money and the attitude of them is less than desirable. And that's something to a certain degree that you may have held within yourself because of your upbringing. But at the same time, you also saw money as liberation and freedom to do whatever you want and to be able to help the people that you love. So for you, family and friends are exactly the same. Once they've been brought into the fold of who you are, you'll do anything for them. So you held these two beliefs at the same time. And in their own way, they sort of cancelled each other out at different times of your life. But, you know, there was this unfoldment. There was this real sort of drive to get to the point of what you feel about money. And there was a little bit of guilt about acquiring money and having money. And, you know, and watch those thoughts too. How do you feel about people who have money? I mean, sure, there are people who have a lot of money and, you know, maybe they could do a lot more with it in your opinion and other people's opinion. And that may be true, or based on what it is that you think, you know, without a shadow of a doubt, with everybody that got together that were billionaires and this, that, and the other, we could end hunger, we could end this, that, and the other. I mean, we could do this. And homelessness, and that just isn't happening. And that is sad. And because you're such a deep person, because of your energy and because how much you feel, there is this energy of why aren't they doing this? But there's also this energy that you would do that, right? So it's this sort of... this energy that's playing out, and again, sometimes it plays against each other, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, for other people, it could be sort of debilitating in some ways, because these are two very contradictory sort of ways of seeing things, and they could battle. But for you, it's a way that you see through things. It's a way that you sort of balance your energy of money. And also it's a way that you sort of, quote unquote, keep yourself honest, right? There's also a part of you, and this may not be for all of you, definitely not for all of you. This may only be for a small amount of you. Again, a general reading, but it is significant message. So if this message is for you, this idea that if you got money that you could be quite corrupt by it. Now, this could actually have come from a past life where you didn't do great things with money, and that's totally fine. We were all bollockses in past lives. We're not all here to be angels at all times. It's the point is that you live through that lifetime, you learn something from it, you're coming back to experience something different. So if you have that energy, there's a good chance there's a reason for it, like a legitimate reason for it. And you also sense your empowerment, you also sense your power, and a lot of you are coming into your power psychically too. So as you know, if you in the past you may not have trusted yourself to go down the road and not do the best stuff with the money, or not invest it in the way, or work with it in the way with the respect that you will work with it now. Now this is mainly a past, and again a past life, but this is mainly a past energy. But every now and again it comes up for you. It does come up for you. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. You can bring it into your existence and you can keep it there. I wouldn't get too involved with it, because the truth of the matter is that you have a golden heart, and whatever you're going to do with this money is absolutely going to be brilliant. The other thing that's coming up for you is you have this layer of extreme generosity to the point where you'll give when you don't have much. Which is wonderful, but you'll do without and give somebody else. And then there's another form of like being extremely frugal. that comes in, which is kind of a strange combination in some ways, but it's not odd for you. And the reason that is because there's still just a little bit of remnants, just a tiny bit of remnants, which is something that you can be worked on, and most of you are already in touch with this and understand this. But if you do have money, or if money comes in, that's wonderful, you bring it in, but you tend to hold on to it because you don't know when the next stuff is coming in, the next sort of parcel of money. So again, coming back to this understanding that abundance is absolutely everywhere. There's more than enough for absolutely everyone. Everybody gets their share. Whatever you ask for, whether you ask for $1 or $1 million, there's no difference to the universe. There's a difference on your part, what you feel as though, you can attract, where you are at that time. So you're very identified with your energy and where you are at that time. So in that way, you're brilliant manifestors. But to just be aware of that sort of abundant energy anywhere, so you can keep that abundance constant when something comes in, because you can bring in something absolutely insanely magical, and then you'll go into that and then you'll really absolutely love it, and then you'll be in this magical mode, and then you'll go back into the practical, the dominant divine masculine action. And if that action doesn't sort of, it's not devoted to, well, you're devoted to it, but if the energy of it's not devoted to the outcome and it falls flat, that's when everything sort of comes up against you a little bit. And that's when you start sort of shutting down about the abundance being everywhere. But this is something largely that you're aware of. Let's get you some more information. You're working with it. Yeah, you're working with that judgment. Yeah, you're working with crumbling all of these essences too. And really clicking into the understanding that the timeline that you've chosen for yourself, or what it is that you've chosen for yourself, that might be something better and higher. And this is something that you're really, truly working on. So when something doesn't yield the results that you want, you can go back and go, as we suggested, click right into your higher self, and and you don't have to abandon it in any way, shape, or form. Just click into that divine feminine, into that receptivity. That's what's going to bring in that beautiful abundance, because you clicked in a little bit too much into that action, which is great. Divine masculine is wonderful, and you've got that down, but clicking right back into that intuition is going to bring you right back into that expansiveness. And that's where you get the next message. No, what you've done is great. It's falling flat because, you could move in this direction and then bring in new energy here. Or, that baby step was wonderful, but we have a better idea for you later on down the line. That's going to be a little bit limiting for you. So we don't want you to waste your time on that now. Let's have you move in that direction, but we're going to take that energy from the baby step and move you somewhere new. But this information will be very, very available for you as you move forward. So it's about that integration of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. For you, that divine masculine really rooting down into that action, into that firm foundation of who you are, but really giving birth to the understanding that the divine feminine will be front and center in that receptive mode. So really allowing that sort of divine masculine to take a little bit of a step back, but very much a central role, very, very appreciative of what they do, and really bring in that divine feminine a little bit with that receptivity and that beauty and that sort of flow. That's really going to solidify your outlook moving forward. But allowing that all to sort of fall apart and shift away at different levels for each and every one of you could be a little bit disconcerting, but it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be. It's up to you how you perceive it. But if it's falling away in such a way that it's a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit overwhelming for you, stay with it. This too shall pass. You're just going through this. You've got that Knight of Cups too, and you've got the Moon. Absolutely. I mean, the receptivity is there, the beauty is there, and using your emotionality for you to really gauge how you move forward, really gauge what's right for you. If you really go back onto, something that's falling flat, for instance, we're going to go back to that example, and then you really click into that energy of it. You will be able to tell your energy level whether it's something that you really necessarily want to pursue or not, or whether you were doing because you thought you could or you thought you should, or it's something that you could do in order to bring in abundance. You know, we often move forward with what we could be doing and using our gifts in a certain way because we can do them. There's nothing intrinsically wrong with this at all, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we're following our heart, bringing in the beauty of, you know, and really putting in the energy and the beauty around things that we love to do, but also is at the heart center is where you want to be. So you are learning that very, very small sort of divide and hopping into living that life where you're living from that heart center completely. So again, all of this is unfolding for you, and all of this mystery and this beauty and this gorgeousness moving forward. You know, you don't have to have everything in alignment. It's about releasing and trusting into the universe. And sometimes that small baby step that you do, no, maybe it didn't render the results that you were looking for, but it puts you in a position, if you stay expansive, for something bigger and better to come in. Once you're on that path and clicked firmly on that path, which we guarantee you are, Power One, without a shadow of a doubt, then all of this is going to move you forward if you stay in that receptive mode. So these are the messages that we have for you, Power One, and we hope we gave you some just a little bit of help and some examples, some practical examples. We like to do that. Take what resonates, see what doesn't. If there's anything that you want to try on that we brought out to help you through this, that's wonderful. But don't ever feel as though you need to. This is just advice, take it or not. So we are sending you so much love and support for exactly who you are and where you are in the world. If you have not subscribed yet, feel free to do that. We would love to have you. And of course, click that bell icon and that like button. We have so much coming up. There's so many links below, other ways to work with this energy for free and courses. And there's another course that I'm bringing out very, very soon for free. So you want to be in and around for that. You take care, Pile One. You've absolutely got this. This is all cracking open for you. So go be you. And until we meet again, take care. Bye-bye. All you beautiful Pile Twos. This is your messages from the spirit of money. This is your financial reading. What is your relationship with money? We're going to give you a rundown, give you some tips and tricks, lots of ways to work with money. And of course, this means abundance, bringing more in for you. So we're going to start off with our oracle cards and then move on for a little bit more clarity, more information onto tarot. Let's get right into your reading. So you've got red, forgive, and that's number 10. Up there, that's your first card. And then you have Dreamtime Creation. Love that. Let's go with Lord Ganesha next. You have Prosperity, 45. That's beautiful. And then you have Reach Out. I reach out my hand of my heart to connect and to unite to all humanity. Beautiful. So the first thing that we have for you is you guys have such a beautiful soul. You really do. And you deserve all the prosperity in the world. I mean, you really do. You could do so much with that. And you have so much beauty and imagination. It's also been very difficult for you, Pal, too, for a lot of you to reach out for help. Ultra independent, but made that way also. It's very difficult for you to rely on help. And this is a very practical thing, but it also works with the universe too. It also works with the spirit of money. It's almost as if there's an essence of you that's like, oh, I'm okay. Look after somebody else. Oh, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. You just make sure you look after Joe there down the road. They need a little bit more. They need, and that's just you. That's just you. There's a sweetness to you and there's a gorgeousness to you. There's also an energy of you that's very rich already. You have a regal aspect to your personality, which is really beautiful also. But you have needs too. And you have these needs that can be met. And when things are a little bit more, when things are easier, then of course you can, you've clicked into your blueprint and being able to be of service to the world, and each and every one of you has a different way of doing that, will be a little bit easier. Having our basic needs met, should be bare minimum, right? So it's, and having some abundance coming in so you can help other people is totally normal. But it's almost as if that energy of, oh no, look after somebody else before me. You've been working on that. You've been working on that. And for you, that was a boundary issue too. There was a boundary issue of always helping people before other people, people taking advantage. This is something that's been, we're not going to focus on that because this is something that's come in and around you and you've worked with those boundaries. And as you've increased your vibration and figured out how beautiful you are, and this is an ongoing process for you, but enough that these people were not attracted to your energy anymore. In fact, there was very little you had to do, the universe to sort of drop them out of your life, right? And you're fine with that. Initially, it might have been sort of discombobulating and maybe you were a little overwhelmed or a little bit sad, but you knew at the end of the day, even if that sadness was there because people weren't there anymore, you knew it was for the best. So you didn't pursue it in any way, right? In the past, you may have. So this is understanding for you. You have learned these boundaries, and the universe has worked with you within these boundaries without a shadow of a doubt to understand that you come first when you put yourself first. And this is really important message for you, because even though you've worked so hard and you've worked so long at this, and you've clicked into this energy and increased this vibration, there's still just a little inkling of it in the way in which you see abundance, and just see if that resonates with you as you're listening to this just a little bit. Now, it's something that can come up and can be really released very quickly. We don't want to suggest that it's all deep rooted. As we say on Unicorn Light Tarot, don't go down the rabbit hole. You've done a lot of that shadow work. You've done a lot of that integration work already. It's not going to need any of that. It's just maybe an actuality of really going back, maybe of looking at all of the work that you've done in and around yourself and really acknowledging how far you've come. It's absolutely incredible. Like your energy, what you're admitting, what you're putting out there, your energy and what you were before and who you were before and what you stood for before. It's almost like in the beginning, you were like a sponge. Like you let all this information in, all of this energy in, and it knocked out sort of your equilibrium within, and to the point where you didn't necessarily feel as though you had a real identity, or your identity shifted in each and every situation, almost like a chameleon. And that was very overwhelming for you. And it was difficult for you to really click into your authenticity because you had to figure out different parts of yourself and put them back together again because of how empathic you are. Now, you've been working with that emotionality, you've been working with that energy, and pieces of yourself are coming back. And they're really funny pieces, like genuinely funny. You're funny. You're interesting, you're articulate, you have an interesting point of view, which, sometimes gets people going, but it's certainly not boring. You have a trickster energy too, the energy that you put out there, people react to in such a way because you're there to sort of disrupt and cause a little chaos, because when people are sort of in that mode, they start questioning, they start seeing, why am I being triggered? What's going on? And all of this is wonderful energy. If we're just all status quo and we're just moving down and we're not questioning anything, we're just doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the same results. Isn't that like madness, right? The very definition of madness. So there's a trickster energy to you, and you've been using that sort of within for yourself to be able to sort of break up little parts of yourself and bringing them back together. So this is a very exciting moment for you where you get to see it's almost like an essence of you has arrived and you've not been here before. And this essence really allows you to connect in with the energy of money and with the spirit of money and abundance in a very different way. So again, you're putting yourself forward and you're putting yourself first, and you're saying, you know what, I do deserve this abundance. I do deserve this life. I do deserve to have nice things. I really do. I've worked hard. And and that's the other thing. The other thing that you do, you give yourself reasons why I've worked hard, I've done this. And honestly, your heart deserves it. You can give yourself as many reasons as you want. We're not going to tell you that's right or wrong. We wouldn't do that. But just for being you, that's all the reason that you have. This incredible creativity, this incredible vision that you have, an incredible focus and drive to be able to bring it to fruition. You know, why wouldn't you want to be absolutely supported by the universe in every way, shape, or form? Now, there's another message coming in for you too. Pal 2. It's not just working with the universe, it's asking for help in the actual, the literal world. When people are coming in and trying to help you, or with money, or this, that, and the other, you know, ultra independence, you know, very few people are, well, no, I don't know, very few people, that's rubbish, I don't know if that's true, but you don't like accepting help from other people. You like to do things on your own. It's a way that you don't sort of I think that's something that came from some of you. It may have come from sort of a DNA, or from parents or grandparents, you know, that never a lender or a borrower be. That's my mother used to say that, right? But, you know, she lent money all the time. She said a lot of things. She didn't really do them, which is totally fine. But there was an essence of that. It's just that if I don't borrow, or I don't lend, or whatever, then, you know, at least if I don't borrow money, then I don't have to pay back. I don't have to bother with all of this, or if I don't accept help, I can do this on my own. Then, you know, all of that is perfectly reasonable. Of course, it's very human to want to do things on your own. But if people are reaching out and asking you to help them, we want you to see it as sort of an angelic help. And it might be in your blueprint. It might be in your timeline. It might be part of who you are to accept that help. That's part of your healing process. We just want to put that out for you. We're not going to suggest that you do things in a certain way or not. No one should. But, you know, if that help is out there, take it if you want to, because that really is part of your healing journey too. You're not here to do things on your own. And we're talking about actual practical help that's in and around you, not just from the universe. Of course, take all the help you can from the universe, but this is a little bit more. This is something for this give and receive. You have given so much, and so much has been taken too. You were around a lot of people that were taking. And this was tough for you because you didn't really get in and around the energy of balance. Now, we always say that, you know, you don't give anything to get back. You do get something back. It's probably not from that person, but you do get energy back. You do get something back. But you don't give it with the energy of getting back. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But when you keep giving, especially to the same person or the same situation, there really isn't anything coming back. There is an imbalance there. You know, and somebody may have even have said to you, you don't give something to you know, they may have done that. You know, there might have been some narcissistic behavior about that. And they've missed the understanding because they're the ones that were taking. They've missed the whole thing. They want you in a position where they can constantly take from you, and they didn't like being called on it if you had that balance. So you understood that balance, but not everybody around you that was constantly taking from you understood that balance. And again, you may have been accused of, you know, giving to receive, and that's not you at all. That was never your intention, but you understood that there was innately something wrong with this balancing situation, and you were the one at the negative end of it, right? So this is something that you've had to sort of figure out and bring back to center. But there might be just a little bit of inkling there that, you know, it's better not to accept anything. It's better to do things on your own and balance on your own and not bring in other kind of energy. And that's something that you're bringing into your understanding based on your past, based on the fact that you were the one that were giving. You were the one that was constantly giving and other people were taking. But if somebody's trying to help you out, we're just going to suggest this and see how you feel. You know, energy does come back. The fact that you constantly gave your energy, the fact that you were there for somebody, maybe this is not payment for that time, but maybe this is energy that's being returned to you, that energy that you previously put out there. So we just want to put it out there to make it a little bit easier. It feels like for some of you, you make things a little bit more difficult for yourself and you get a little bit more stressed when there is more help available to you. Again, this is tangible, practical help for you to do this. But there is prosperity coming in for you. And also 45, it keeps reminding me of a 45 record. So it's a smaller record. What you do, you kind of work with energy a little bit differently to most. And you do work with it in sort of a very creative, dreamlike sort of state. You really do understand at the very core that it is your vibration that brings in whatever it is that you want. You absolutely know this, right? And there's times where you lived in survival mode. And you know, this expansive energy to bring in more was not available to you at that time. It just wasn't. So if there's any remnants about forgiving yourself for being in that time, it's like you're not ashamed of yourself in any way, but when you look back and you look back on that time, you were a very different person, and it's almost like you can't really recognize yourself anymore. That's perfectly fine. That's beautiful. That's a great way to be. But also sometimes you're a little hard on yourself for decisions that you made in the past. And that's also something that, you know, we can say to you, well, you were in survival mode. Survival mode is very, very tunnel vision. There's only so much you can do. And sometimes you need to be in a survival mode to be able to do what you need to do. It's a very specific type of energy. And it closes out anything else. And that's where you were. So obviously you were not going to be able to shift and change automatically. But that survival mode for you needed to play out. And there was a lot for you to learn within that survival mode. So you could say to yourself, I'm done with this. I'm never going back to that. So you've been really moving from surviving to thriving, that mode for quite a while now. And you're finally, and you've been going backwards and forwards. But even if you go back to surviving that mentality for a little while, you're never anywhere near where you were before. Now you've actually turned the corner, and your feet are really in the thriving mode and not in surviving anymore. They're not deeply rooted there yet, though. They're not deeply rooted there, but both feet are in there. You don't have one foot in surviving, but one toe in surviving, and the other foot firmly planted in thriving. You've got both of your feet. They're thriving. You're there, but you're still new to it a little bit, but you trust it. And that's why if this energy is coming in and around you and people are offering to help you, take it. Take it, take it, take it. If it feels right, take it, please. This is part of the thriving energy too. People will want to help you. You have an incredible insight and incredible creativity and incredible vision, not just for your life, but for other people's lives, and imagination for the future too. A lot of you, if you have any creative projects, they'll be brilliant because you think differently. Your level of imagination and creativity is incredible. And part of that is built upon past lives or other lives that you have had where there was a higher and a deeper intelligence. So you have that essence already within you, right? And you can tap into that whenever you want. So there's an elemental kind of inner child energy to a lot of you too. It's kind of really beautiful. This fairy energy, which is gorgeous. Let's get you some more information. Yeah, you've got the Hierophant there, which is lovely. You've got the Seven of Cups. So this is about keeping that energy where you are right now. You've got your 2 feet, right? And again, you've got this emotionality, so you're going to bring this in with you, this understanding. But you've got both feet, and they are both in the thriving mode. You've got to root them down into the thriving mode too. But some of you don't like to be rooted a little bit, you know, at feeling your energy of being grounded. Your energy works in a very different way. You can kind of float off in this, that, and the other, but still sort of root yourself down. So maybe saying to you, being rooted right into that sort of has a little bit of a panicky effect. It's almost like you're scared of being rooted anywhere. This is something from a past life too, because there's something about like experiencing everything in this lifetime, and a lot of you are having different kinds of energy and different kinds of opportunities that are coming up for you. And while this is absolutely incredible, you don't know which way to turn. So there's definitely a shift for a lot of you. Stay in that expansive energy and stay in that receptive mode that you have. And it's okay for you to be able to use your power the way in which you wield it. Again, you've got this trickster energy. If everybody goes right, you might go left, right? Or you might start going right and then you zag off at the end. That's fine. Comparing yourself to the way other people work is not going to work for you in this lifetime at all. It's just going to confuse you. So just have an idea. Instead of the specifics of what you want to see, we want to say pull that energy back and stay in the energy of what it feels like to be in that accomplishment when you are feeling great, when you have X, Y, and Z set in place. But don't try and and figure out how you're going to get there. I think for a lot of you, that's actually tripping you up a little bit and sort of messing up your vibe a little bit with your beautiful spirit of money. Because when you get into that energy, you can really push it forward and you can really have fun with it. Again, there's this real childlike energy that's integrated within you, but it's really trying to come front and center. For sure. You should check out the 21-day unicorn. All the links are down below. I just redid it, and it's a video course now, and it's all working with your inner child. You would, if you've always listened to your intuition, but if you feel as though that's right for you, that could be a good one for you too. And it's 21 days of activations moving forward too. It's not just all of this. So with the Knight of Wands and the Five of Pentacles, yeah, there is just this a little bit of energy that you're moving through too, that, you know, you're always there to look after people, but people aren't there to look after you. And that's another thing, that's a trust. When people are coming in, they want to help you. You do trust that they have the right energy in and around you. That's not it, but there's a sort of a distrust. Well, will I be able to pay them back? Will I be able to do this? Or again, not being on your own 2 feet. There's just something that comes in there that, you know, when you take in the energy of somebody helping you, it's great for a moment, and then it sinks into this, I don't know, it sinks into the survival mode energy, and then you start telling yourself things. But this is really not a big deal, because you have this passionate energy moving forward and you're ready to move through all of this. But, you know, again, if you look back onto every time you've helped somebody else and every time you've been there for other people, every time you put the energy of them first before yourself, before you're even your own well-being, then this is a good time for you to realize how far you've come. Obviously, you're not in that mode anymore, because that was coming out of a survival mode. But also, and it's not like this energy's owed to you or anything like that. You know, karma works in a different way. Balance works in a different way. But, you know, if this energy is coming for you or coming in and around you and wants to help you, part of you moving forward and healing could be to take that energy in. And you're ready to open up to that too. You're ready to, you've got your feet. Again, you've got both your feet there, ready to move forward in this understanding of this expansiveness in this beautiful world that you have, this incredible world that you create for yourself. And also there's a way for you to make money, to do your living, to really do what you love in this lifetime, and to do it to a degree where you're paid handsomely for it. It's just the focus you need to bring in and the energy of trust that you need to bring in. It's going to come in slightly different ways than you would imagine. There's a lot of magic that's in and around you. It's just about having the energy of expansion and allowing it open. So let's get a couple more for you. I just want to get one more card for you here. Pile 2. But you're exactly where you need to be, and you're also in a brand new place. You've never quite been here before. Yeah, you're exactly where you need to be. You are really shedding the old in such a way. You're absolutely shedding the old in such a way and moving in a way where there's not like one way to do things, not one right way or one other way to do things. That's for you. In the survival mode, you took one way and it went off in one direction. It was sort of a love-hate way of doing things, but it was very sort of a simplistic, taking everything down to its roots, its pegs, right? Of everything. And so there was one way of doing things, and that, you know, and then you had this outcome that came in. So, and that, it sort of worked. There were a lot of ups and downs. It sort of worked. It always worked out in the end. That's the other thing. You always land on your own 2 feet. You always do. Once you set out the intention, you always do. But there's a lot of effort to get there, and you want to shift that, and you are doing that. Now, you're not doing any of that energy anymore. So there's not 2 ways to do things. There's not just one way to do things. If I choose this, I choose that. If I choose left, I go right. Or if I choose right, I choose wrong. Anything like that. There's a myriad of different ways to do that. Again, keeping that expansive energy and knowing that that's where your intuition lies, and that's where your next move lies. And again, really just letting in this energy of abundance come in and help you. It feels like there's a lot of it, different people, different energy coming in to knock on the door, and sometimes it's a matter of trust. You don't trust it. You absolutely don't trust it. You know, is this really for me? Will this last? This, that, and the other. The first thing that you do to take in the energy is that you kind of strip it down to its roots again. Why is it here? Is this real? Will this last? Should I do this? Instead of taking it in as, oh, this is amazing. Yeah, I've attracted this energy. Of course I have. Now, what do I want to do with this energy? Do I want to say yes to it? Da, 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 da. So again, you're exactly where you need to be. You have your beautiful 2 feet in there. And again, rooting into that energy of abundance may not work for you, especially right now, because you want to be free to sort of go off and do what you need to do. But just accepting the fact that you do things differently as a 45. But you know, the 45 is, maybe it's not an album. It's not an album, but it's, it works just as well. And people have 45s where they just listen to that 145 over and over again. You may not be everybody's cup of tea, but people who get into your world and people love what you do, they're going to be enough to make you a millionaire. They're going to be enough to make, I mean, you'll be popular enough with the people that love who you are. I mean, there's nothing about you that's like, they're okay. They love you or they hate you, but mainly they love you when they're in and around your energy, right? So, you know, you're not mainstream in any way. You could make yourself mainstream. And you could shift that energy and become mainstream in one way, but that's not what you're here to do. But you're here to find your own energy and your own path, and go off in your own way. So we want to encourage you doing that without a shadow of a doubt. Of course, I'm going to do a magic making card to end this reading. But yeah, have some fun, go out there and really just explore this new way of having your 2 feet in that abundant energy, in that thriving energy, knowing that you've turned that corner completely from surviving, which served you at the time, but not any longer. So you've got that power symbol, cleanse, purify, and protect the physical body. So this is a really big cleansing for you. This is all on all levels. You may have been feeling activations too, you know, sleepless nights, like mind going constantly at night. Tingling in the head too can happen too. Flutterings in the heart, all sorts of different things. It happens for people in different ways. Of course, if they keep persisting, please go, you know, check yourself out or whatever. We're not suggesting that we're doctors in any way, but a lot of these have physical symptoms too going through. So this is something that you may be doing. You are absolutely activating and cleansing on every level. So clear that energy, stay with that energy of that trickster energy and that beautiful imagination. Take into account all of the help that's coming in for you and see where you want to move in that direction. And just really revel where you are and claim that energy that you're in, because it's a brand new place and you're not going back to that energy anymore, that beautiful survival energy that helped you. But you know, you're in new terrain now, so honor that. So that's what we have for you, pile 2. We're sending you so much love and beauty for exactly who you are and where you are in the world. If you have not subscribed, we would love to have you come hang out with us at Unicorn Light Tarot. And of course, hit that bell icon so you never miss a video. There's 2 a week, and we obviously have the Unicorn Light podcast too, and lots of links down below to check out for other ways to work with this energy. And don't forget to hit the like button if we gave you some beautiful advice and some support today. All right, my darlings, until we meet again, go be you, you glorious self. And bye. Okay, my beautiful pile 3s, last but not least, this is messages from the spirit of money. This is your financial reading. What is your relationship with money? Getting you some really deep insights so you can bring in that abundance at a core level. And as usual, we're starting off with the oracle, and then we will move on to our tarot to get you some more information. Let's get right into your reading. So you've got personal transformation. That's a wonderful way to start, right? Number 35. Let's get you that on camera in focus. And then you have shaman, ancient healing wisdom. And then you have abundance. I'm grateful for the abundance. I am grateful for the abundance nature and the universe provide in my life. And then you have protest, start a revolution. I love that. And that's 28 too. So you're here to shift the world. You're here to change the world, and you're here to do it sort of on your own terms. So there's a lot of different modalities that you shift and change. You've got deep science roots, psychology, deep healing roots, getting back into our ancestors, the way in which they did things, herbalism, all of that. It's all about integrating all modes and bringing it up to a higher sense. You're also here for complete unity with everything. That's all the energies that are out there and doing what you want to do. So because of this, your energy in and around sort of the abundance of money and the spirit of money has been sort of up and down, to say the least. It's been sort of thrown all over the place, because you change your mind and your opinion constantly, which is a wonderful thing to do too. Sometimes it's been difficult for you to, it's not that you don't know who you are, and it's not that you don't have some grounding force. You have this beautiful morality and this beautiful heart that you have, and that's your grounding. But in this world, in this sort of human world, in this sort of the matrix world, that often isn't seen as enough. You know, people turn to religion, or they turn to politics, or they turn to this, that, and the other as a matter of defining. You never did that. So for some people, when you were growing up, you were a little bit of an anomaly. And this was good and bad in some ways. It sort of shut you out of things where you didn't feel as connected as you could. But at the same time, it gave you freedom to kind of go off and do the sort of stuff in your mind that you wanted to do, right? And you knew you wanted to pursue sort of different energies and kind of get out there and sort of explore in ways that other people just don't really necessarily want to do. And that's totally fine. Earth is a free will zone. Everybody has their own path. So a lot of what you've been doing is going through different energies, gathering different informations, finding out what works for you and what doesn't, and finding out why things don't work for you and putting it all together. You sort of have a very sort of scientific mind, but it all comes together with the energy of complete nature and magic, right? And alchemy. You have a very powerful mind, and you have a very powerful understanding of abundance, but that power and that energy is sometimes used to block the abundance. Now, this is the reason why for most of you, there is a little bit of a fear that if you succeed, there won't be this motivation for you to keep going out there and become more and become more and become more. Some of you have become synonymous with the idea of being out there and having absolutely nothing and doing whatever, well, not absolutely nothing, doing what you do, and that ultimate freedom. With working with abundance in a sort of not a limited way, but in a way that doesn't require much responsibility, right? The responsibility is to yourself. Now, this is incredible because you were able to go in and out of all these different things, come up with all these different sort of ways of being, and you have this incredible old soul that has a lot of wisdom. And on top of that, everything that you've learned in this lifetime too, you've been able to filter through all of that old wisdom and old beauty. And there's no wrong or right way to do this, and all of this absolutely worked for you. But you are in the middle of this transformation, this personal transformation where you are shifting this, and you've decided that you want a little bit more tangibility in the world, and if you step up in this new way, you will be able to help the world in completely new ways, right? But that also takes a little bit more responsibility for being in the world in a way that you weren't before. So the way in which you are working with abundance is slightly different. Before, you held it back just a little bit, but also at the end of the day, you always knew that you were going to land on your own 2 feet. So this might be a little bit of a real talk for you, Pal 2, and this may not be for absolutely everybody that's listening to this, but if it is, see how this fits with you, see if it triggers you. You know, sometimes you let things get really bad because you knew at the end of the day you were going to land on your own 2 feet, and this was the way that you could test yourself, and you could test your ability, and you could test your strength. There's a way in which you constantly tested yourself and put yourself into limits that, quite frankly, not everybody would be able to do. A lot of people would crumble, but you came back from it, right? Now, again, we're not going to suggest that this is wrong or right. That's not what we're here to do. In some ways, it's kind of dangerous, right? But that is a part of you that's really profoundly strong and knew what you were doing. And this is the way that you've gone and garnered a lot of this information that you've gotten and integrated it. And it's a very sort of extreme way of living. Now, in some ways, it was very physically extreme. And in some ways, it was sort of emotionally extreme. It wasn't on the outskirts, sort of the exterior looking in. It doesn't feel as though recently or in the last like 5 years you've had such an extreme life, because based on, you haven't moved around, you haven't done this so much, but in your mind, you have been really, really extreme. And in the past, you've been out there doing all these crazy things where people really could see that that's what you were doing, right? So it doesn't matter whether it's showing on the external or on the internal. There's an extremity. You have this extreme way of doing things. It's almost like you push the universe and it pushes back. Again, this is because of your power, you know how to handle it. You know what you're doing. And there's a fearlessness to you too, because you know that your soul is eternal. But also, you also know what you're here to do. You've been clicked into your personal timeline, and you know that you're here to do something. So it's not cockiness, but you know that your time isn't up. Most of you have an idea of when your time will be up, and you have an idea of how long you have here for the most part. So you know that you can push this and you can do this, and this is something that you can come back from. And this is something that you can tell in other people too. You have an idea, you can, and for some of you, it might have freaked you out before, but you can click into somebody's energy, and figure out if they're sick and how they're sick and what they're doing, and clear up their energy. Sometimes it's their time and that's it. But that's something that's one of your gifts. That's not. It's rather unique. It's something that you can do for other people, and it's something that you've done for yourself. But at the same, and this, you're not cocky or arrogant. If anything, you keep everything sort of on the low, because it's all your information. You're doing something with it. You're not hiding it away from the world, but this is something that you're doing to be responsible for your own energy. But this personal transformation is taking you one step further. You want to be responsible in the world. You're asking for not even a little bit more, because you asked for nothing before, really. Now you're actually asking for help. Now you're saying, all right, maybe I do want this, and maybe I do want that. And and the way in which you do it too, it's almost like you justified. If I get that, I'll be able to help. It's always like when you put out something that you want, there's always a million different reasons why that's going to help other people. So you always think of other people too. You're always thinking of the collective. So even when you're working on a very individual level, you're working at a collective level. Very powerful spirit. And this understanding of the process of starting a revolution, it's really about shifting the energies and moving into a new way of being. And this is something that you've been able to do. Again, sometimes you've done it underground, doing it your own way, because the way in which we lived before, prior to 2010, and definitely prior to the 2 years that we've had, obviously global, our world has changed in ways that we cannot go back to, thank God. Right. But prior to that, you worked in a way that was sort of secretive in a way, but you worked on your own terms. That way, there was a certain amount of animosity maybe in and around people who didn't get what you were doing, but you still were able to work and do whatever it is that you wanted to do. But now you're ready to sort of come out of that and move into sort of a more of an integration mode. And again, you weren't not integrated. You were just doing things on your own way. And part of that was because the world was not really ready for a beautiful spirit just as you. And, and even at the beginning of this, the 2 years of the pandemic, while everything was coming up in such a way, there was narrow versions of things coming up that still wouldn't have been ready necessarily for the way in which you work. But now that's completely different, right? And all of these mindsets needed to come up to be dealt with and just to be seen, so we could sort of hug them and see what needs to be done. So there's no right or wrong with any of these mindsets, but it's a matter of how you were going to perceive and how you were going to be seen and treated. So you have a very brilliant sense of timing, Pal 3, and a little bit of sense of that drama too. You have again, it comes out at very certain ways, but you are You know, a lot of you, I don't know if you are even interested in acting, but that's something that you probably could do, or something that maybe that you trained in, and something you can get back to. I mean, you're exquisite in that. You're that height of emotionality and knowing how to work that. And something that you do. But this timing is yours now, and you sense it moving forward. It's a new way to be in the world. Requires a different type of responsibility. But within that responsibility, it also brings in a different kind of energy of this abundance that you have in and around you. It means that you can work with the abundance differently and create different results for yourself. So yeah, you can move in different directions here. Absolutely. So this is something that you're aware of, and all it takes is a little bit of commitment on your part. Now, you're not a commitment phobe. When you commit, you commit absolutely, totally. You just don't commit that often. And this is actually a beautiful way to be. You know, when you say you're going to be there, you're going to do it. Now, when it comes to the day, you might be pissed off about it, but you'll do it anyway, right? When you commit, you commit. But you also understand that one direction renders a certain kind of results, and that's something that you've always been a little bit nervous about. So keeping everything expansive and open has been wonderful. But for you, the expansiveness and the openness sometimes requires you to make a decision and to move in one direction. And this is where you're at. And there's no right or wrong here. It's just a matter of, if I choose this direction, I get X, Y, and Z. And if I stay open, I'm here, I'm where I am, pretty much where I was before. I want to do things differently. So you're ready for that abundance. And because of that energy and the way in which you use that energy and the way in which you've integrated that energy, and more importantly, the way in which you've used that energy and understood yourself through this, it may not have been obvious for you, because there were so many layers to you that you were working on yourself. There were so many things that were going on that were being mirrored for you, so many dramatic situations, ups and downs, that you couldn't always see the wood for the trees. And just very recently, you've come out on this sort of other side, this plateau, where you're able to look back and go, holy crap, you know, wow. This is me. I came through all of that. And through that, I understood this about myself. I understood that. There's a lot of aha moments that are coming in for you right now. And a lot of sort of going over the bridge. You've crossed that bridge. You're now onto something completely different. You're out of the stage of constantly pulling back the layers of the onion. You're right in the middle of this now. And because of this, you're able to move in any different direction, as we say here, moving spherically in any different direction. But it requires a direction for you to move in. And the direction that you want to move in is actually not materialism, but it is actually bringing in the energy of money, bringing in the energy of, you know, stable house, whatever it is that you want, something that, you know, maybe you thought would have stopped you doing what you wanted to do, or wouldn't have been as liberating, or would have kept you down a little bit. You're changing your tune. Now, to the external world, some people might say, oh, you know, they're growing up. That's not what's happening at all. You know, you're not growing up. You're growing, but it's not about becoming an adult. You were actually an adult from a very, very young child. You're actually becoming a child again. You're doing it the opposite way. People have kind of got it the opposite way. And that's totally fine, because other people's opinions really don't make any difference to you. But this is an incredible time for you to move forward with this energy and work with it slightly differently, with the energy, the beauty, and the knowledge that you have with working with energy. So changing things up. Yeah, you got the Lovers coming in and Strength. These are beautiful cards. So the Lovers really coming into that pure self-acceptance, coming back to that energy of love, knowing that love infused with everything, really puts you in touch with where your fear was before and what held you down. And also finding that strength to come through that fear. And part of that fear was being held in one place. It's not being able to do what you wanted to do. Now, this was a past life thing where you might have been imprisoned, or you might have been, that's kind of extreme, but you might have been in a position where, you know, your talents were limited. Somebody took them away. Something was happening, or, you know. So this is something that's been sort of deep delved for you, deep delving within your soul. This is nothing that's just like, oh, you know, I don't want any responsibility, I'm just going to do my thing. This is a reason, a very specific reason that's within your sort of DNA. And for most of you, you're aware of this and you've worked through it. And some of you have actually had actual commitment issues with people too, because You don't want to get stuck in situations or that aren't going to work out. So you're the first one out, or this, that, and the other. You might have had a reputation for it. Not all of you, but some of you. There's different ways that you work with this energy. But actually, you weren't a commitment phobe. It's just that you didn't want to get tied down to anything that wasn't for you, right? And the way in which you work with your energy, you can absolutely tell within like 20 minutes whether this person has any kind of potential. That's not to say that you're not going to stay with them for a little while and have some fun, but when that fun's over, what is the point? You're not the type to drag it on and put your energy into something that isn't going to work out. So this is something that you're bringing back into yourself now, and really understanding this love and this new making friends with a new profound way of committing to yourself and a way of integrating back into the world. And of course, it brings you new gifts. It brings you new ways to be out into the world, a new trust level. It requires you moving in a slightly different direction and choosing something and putting those 2 feet down and saying, all right, I'm choosing this. This is my path. Let's see where it goes. But you also get to be incredibly expansive. When you put your 2 feet down, you're very good at saying, all right, I've chosen this, now what? You're very good at the expansive part of it, which not a lot of people are. A lot of people are right, I put my 2 feet down, I'm doing this, now let me control it and make it happen. You're the opposite. So once you click into that energy, that's wonderful, and your strength comes from that. But yeah, there's this new level of acceptance for you coming in. The way that you accept yourself, the way in which you are in the world, the way in which you exist, the way in which you bond with yourself, with connections in the world, the way in which you are with the essence of money, the essence of visualization, and the way in which you change and shift your life on a dime. You can do that. And for some of you, it actually does mean that there is a significant other coming in, or a new level of commitment coming in for a lover if you already have them. But for most of you, it's a new lover coming in, and that's coming from a new kind of perspective. Again, the way in which you want to shift your energy, the way in which you want to work, which is a little bit differently, which really brings the way in which you work with your own energy up to a new level of expertise. To be honest and to be very clear, the way in which you worked before in the past it's now a little bit limited. And when you start working with it, there's a little bit of frustration. There's a little bit of give. It starts off really well, but it's not garnering you the results that you want. So you know that you're ready in your heart of hearts of doing things differently. Let's get you one more card. For tarot here. Let's see what else we have for you. Yeah, you got the Star. I couldn't think of a better card for you coming in with this level of hope. Everything that you've been through, all the experiences that you've had, and especially the way in which you work with energy is coming in. You are an expert at your field because of the way that you've done things. Yes, it's very different to everybody else. And you have these extreme parts of your personality, right, that are extremely passionate and extremely beautiful and very confusing to other people. In the past, you might have intimidated other people, but now your strength is so high that, I don't think those people are, that those types of people would even mess with you anymore. And if they did, they would definitely get the wrath. I mean, you have no problems putting people in their place if they need to be. There is nothing about you that's a walk in the park if they mess with your energy. And that's a beautiful part of it too, That comes from that confidence of knowing that you deserve, deserve your energy to be not necessarily respected, but to adhere to, but your energy needs to be allowed in and around the space. And before, your energy was so extreme, people would try to dumb it down or pull you down or do something about it. And you didn't really know at certain times because you were working, sort of on a low-key level. You weren't really integrated into the world that way. So sometimes that could really hurt you, or sometimes you didn't really know how to deal with it, or sometimes you did and you overreacted. But you coming back and integrating back into the world, into this new level, puts you into a new level of strength, a new level of abundance, a new level of attraction, because you're on the radar now, right? And you're ready for anything that life can throw at you. You really are, in a way that you probably weren't before. And that's just the way that you were working in the world. It's not that you were weak or anything, nothing like that. it's just the way that you were working in the world. How can you really deal with a lot of what was going on in the world when you weren't fully integrated into the world? You took yourself out of it to do things on your own terms. But now this energy, this uniqueness, is in your timeline. You clicked into this beautiful time where the world is ready to hear this stuff. We're coming out of a 2-year period now of everything that's been going on, and so much has come up and been concentrated on, and all of that energy, and now it's gonna disperse into many different ways, and you're here to sort of disperse all of that, right? But also pay attention to what needs to be changed and what needs to be done. But yeah, that really extreme energy, bringing that extreme self-acceptance, this really sort of radical self-acceptance to who you are and your emotionality and everything that you've done. Is absolutely incredible. And again, picking a path, but also having that expansiveness. But you're ready to show yourself, or you're ready to step up. The universe has been ready all the way. They've been watching you do everything that you do. They've been ready for you to step into this moment, for everything that you are and who you are, to bestow these gifts upon you. So this is an incredible time for you to go in any direction that you want. And for those of you who have this vision of what it is that they wanted to achieve in this lifetime, they've had it since a young child, this is the time where all of this can come to fruition. So keep your energy high, choose that commitment, stay committed, but at the same time, keep that expansive energy and just keep being you. And there's nothing about this that isn't absolutely incredible. So that's what we have for you, Pile 3. We are sending you so much love and support for exactly who you are and where you are in the world. If you have not subscribed already, we would love to have you. Of course, have 2 of these readings a week, so hit that bell icon so you never miss a reading. And of course, hit that like button. We have so many different ways to work with this energy too. All the links are down below with the podcast and the Unicorn School of Light. And of course, brand new website. So lots of different ways to get the support that you need. You stay just exactly the way that you are. Go be you, Pile 3. What a blessing. Until we meet again, take care. Bye-bye.